Hello dear participant, we are in swim course of Introductory Animal Physiology. Today we are going to start new topic, that is Digestive Physiology. Module name is Digestive Physiology of Monogastric. Title is Morphological Characteristics of Monogastric and Polygastric Animals. We are in the week 4, lecture number 4. Hi, I am Dr. Manish Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Veterinary Physiology and Biochemistry, Faculty of Veterinary and Animal Science, Institute of Agricultural Science, Banaras Hindu University. Overview of this lecture, if you talk, we are going to cover in this topic, that is factors involved in the digestion and digestive tract and its part, accessory digestive organ means which helps in the digestive process, and the function of the digestive tracts. If you see that digestive tract, it is fitted in the body and having the two opening. So digestion is a preparation of the complex food particles into the absorbable units. Most food consumed are more complex and cannot be absorbed directly. So there are different factors involved in the digestion of the food. That is, mechanical factor is there, that is a chewing of the food particles, and then chemical factors are there, that is involves the different digestive enzymes, and microbial factors are there, like different microbes are there in the stomach, like protozoa, fungi, bacteria and other organisms are there which helps in the digestion of the food particles. If you talk about the mechanical factor in the digestion, that first is chewing of the food, that is mastication, and then deglutition means swallowing of the food particles, and then rumination, that chewing of the food particles. Then again regurgitation means taking the food particles from stomach into the mouth, and then remastication, redeglutition means again the food which has been already swallowed before, it has been taken back from the stomach to the mouth and again it has been chewed and then again it has been re-swallowed. Then erection process is that the removal of the gas, especially carbon dioxide and methane are taking place, and then intestinal motility is there which helps in the mixing of the food with the digestive juice into the digestive tract, and then erection, that I told you, removal of the gas, and then defecation, that unwanted particles which is not needed for the body, that has to be defecated out. If you see that food and types of animal, there are different type of foods are there and animals are different, like some animals are herbivores that will eat only grass, and another type of animal is carnivores which will rely for their source of nutrition is meat. So they will eat the meat, and then omnivorous animal will be there which will eat both meat as well as the green fodder. Digestive tract, in animal digestive tract can be thought as a hollow sac-like organ. It is a hollow sac-like organ or a tube with the entrance and exit, lying within the body, specialized for initial processing of the food ingredients. And at the opening, the tract is directly in contact with the environment or outside the world. So lumen of the tract, although within the animal's body, is also technically a part of the external environment. Until nutrients are actually absorbed across the tube, they cannot be considered inside the body. Gut in the most animals has been divided into three parts, that is foregut, midgut and hindgut. Digestive system of an animal is consist of digestive tract and accessory digestive organs which pour their secretions into the digestive tube and helps in the digestion of the food particles. Additional function of digestive system includes the osmoregulation, endocrine secretion, immune function and elimination of the toxic substances which has been ingested. If you talk about the different parts of the digestive tract, it includes mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, intestine, in that small intestine, that is duodenum, jejunum and ileum, large intestine, cecum, colon and rectum, and then it is anus, cloaca or rectum in different animals. Accessory digestive organs includes salivary gland, exocrine pancreas and biliary system. If you talk about the monogastric stomach, that in monogastric mammals, the stomach is simple muscular sac-like chamber lying between the esophagus and the small intestine. Generally, the stomach of the most mammal is simple tubular expansion of the digestive tract. In addition to the circular and longitudinal smooth muscles layer found in the digestive tract, a muscularis externa of the stomach has an additional inner and oblique transverse layer. Anatomically, mammalian stomach, that is ruminant, abomasum is the organ between the esophagus and the duodenum. Physiologically, the stomach can be divided into 4 distinct compartments. That is, first one is esophageal stomach. This is non-glandular stomach and lined by the stratified squamous epithelial cells. It secretes no mucus, no acid, no proteolytic enzymes are produced from this part. Horse has a large esophageal stomach compartment, but it is a very small in the dog, pig and sow. Second part of the stomach is cardiac stomach. Cardiac stomach, that is a glandular stomach. It is lined by the simple columnar epithelial cells that produces the thick mucus buffer that adhere to the cell and protect the epithelium from the proteolytic enzymes and acid produced in the another compartment of the stomach. In the pig, this cardiac stomach part is very large. In dog, it is a very small. In horse and cow, no cardiac part of the stomach are present. Third part of the stomach is proper or fundic stomach. It has very deep invagination of the submucosa lined by variety of cells that produce acid, proteolytic enzymes, hormones and mucus. All mammals have a fundic stomach and it is generally the largest compartment within the stomach. The glandular pyloric stomach has moderately deep gland lined by epithelial cells that produce mucus buffer but not acid or proteolytic enzymes. It is not producing the acid or proteolytic enzymes. It also has the notable population of the enteroendocrine cells like G cells produces the hormone gastrin. All mammals have the pyloric stomach that has at its terminus a pyloric sphincter to control the rate at which the stomach empty. So, pyloric sphincter is involved in the controlling of the digesta at which rate it will move from stomach to the duodenum. If you talk about the ruminant stomach, it is having the 4 compartments. First one is rumen, second one is reticulum, third one is omasum and fourth one is abomasum. The esophagus open into the stomach, that where that esophagus open in the stomach, that part is called as cardia. Rumen is connected to the reticulum by the ruminoreticular fold. Reticulum is communicated with the omasum by the reticulo-omasal orifice. Esophageal or reticular groove extend from the cardia to the reticulo-omasal orifice. It is a gutter-like invagination. This groove is more functional in the young ruminant animal because that time abomasum is the compartment which is a more functional, and that time animals behave like monogastric animal in respect to the digestion of the food particles. During the suckling, receptors in the pharynx and mouth get stimulated, causes the reflex closure of the reticular groove to conduct the liquid and milk from esophagus directly into the reticulo-omasal orifice by passing the rumen and reticulum. So that digestion of the milk is taking place in the abomasum. Closure of the groove is mediated by the behavioral, psychological or chemical way. stomach, that is, small intestine is divided into three parts, that is duodenum, jejunum and ileum. It is a long coiled tube connecting stomach with the large intestine covered by the villi. Villi is responsible for increasing the surface area which allow the mixing of the digestive enzymes or mixing of the digested nutrients to come in contact so that it can be absorbed. Large intestine, it is divided into again three parts, and that is cecum, colon and rectum. It absorbs mainly the water. Absorption of the nutrients at this site is very little. The mainly absorption of nutrients are taking place in the small intestine itself. So if you talk the ruminant stomach, that how it looks like from the interior, the esophagus proper of the cow carries the material into the large fermentation vat that is composed of the rumen and reticulum. So this rumen and reticulum together, they form the fermentation vat. Rumen is largest compartment and lined with the papillae resembling to the sag carpeting. So this you can see that this picture you will be able to appreciate that this is looking like the sag carpeting. And reticulum, it is having the honeycomb structure inside there. Functionally, the rumen and reticulum are the same. Both serve as the site of storage of ingesta and provide the safe haven for the bacteria and protozoa in the stomach, and which is involved in the digestion of the cellulose and hemicellulose. They are both lined by stratified squamous epithelial cells and capable of absorbing the volatile fatty acid and some electrolytes and minerals. So these things are being absorbed in the rumen and reticulum. Third one is oomycem. It has the long leaves coverted by the stratified squamous epithelium that the juices leaving the rumen and reticulum must pass over this portion, and these leaves of the oomycem can also absorb the volatile fatty acid and the water. And last and fourth compartment of the ruminant stomach is abomasum. It is similar to that of the monogastric stomach. This is the only stomach in the ruminants which have the glands in this and secretes the different digestive juices and helping in the digestion of the food. This is also called as true stomach. So let's talk about the functions of digestive tract. What are the functions carried out in the digestive tract? So that is, first is ingestion. It helps in the ingestion of the food particles, and then second one is propulsion. That means ingested material need to be pushed forward and it should get mixed with the digestive enzymes and digestive juices so that it will not get stagnated at one places. So there will be the peristalsis, and peristalsis will be there which will push the food particles forward. Then mechanical processing. The material entering the digestive tract is physically reduced in the size. This begins in the oral cavity where the food is crushed and seared before being propelled along the digestive tract. The reduction in the size of the ingested material increases the surface area so that digestive enzymes can act on that and it will digest the ingested food particles. Fourth is digestion. So the food which has been ingested and broken down into the smaller particles, surface area has been increased. Now the digestive enzymes will act upon this and this will digest and convert into the smaller unit so that it can be absorbed. And then secretion. Water, mucus, acid, enzymes, buffer and salts are released into the lumen of the digestive tract along its length. Secretion comes from the epithelial cells and the glandular organs. The secretions which is being added into the digestive tract, it mainly comes from the epithelial cells and the different glandular organs. Absorption. Now after the digestion of the food particles or nutrients, nutrients need to be absorbed. For that, it need to come in contact with the epithelial cells and nutrients are being absorbed and for their use. And then excretion. that food particles which is not needed anymore for the body, or after absorption of nutrients, extra things need to be excreted out from the body, so that it will create the space and new batches of the food will be coming into the stomach. And the eighth one is immunity. This digestive tract must provide the substantial barrier to prevent the entry of the pathogen into the body. I told you before also that digestive tract has the main functions also to prevent the entry of the bacteria, virus and any other pathogens which do not enter into the bloodstream. Now coming to the prehension. Prehension is nothing but seizing and conveying of the food particles into the mouth. The structure of the oral cavity are necessary for the prehension of the food particles, mastication of the food materials and swallowing of the material, while protecting the animal from inhalation of the food stuff. Hence, that is, mouth structure is made in such a way that it should not enter into the trachea. There are different prehensile organ in the different species of the animal. If you consider man and monkey, that hand is a prehensile organ. Means hand is one part which is bringing the food particles to the mouth. So in the different animals also, different parts are involved in the bringing the food particles near to the mouth so that it can be eaten. So if you consider a dog and cat, hold their prey with the forelimb, passes into the mouth by head and jaw movement. So dog and cat, what they will do? They will take the help of forelimb and they will bring the food particles near the mouth, and they will be having the head movement as well to take the food inside. Horse, upper lip, tongue and incisor teeth are the main prehensile organ. That in the sheep, clefted upper lip favors the close grazing on contrast to the unclefted upper lip of the goat. Cattle, large, strong, rough protrusible tongue and incisor teeth of the lower jaw are the main prehensile organ. In case of the swine, pointed lower lip functions as a prehensile organ. Ruminant have the tongues that are long and flexible, that grasp the herbivorous material, that is a grass, and brought into the mouth, and it is being clipped by the pressing the lower incisor against the dorsal hard palate. The ruminants have no incisor in their upper dental acridate. In the camel, do have the upper incisor, but prehension of the food is very similar to that in the more traditional way taking place in the ruminants. Dog, cat and many other carnivores do not utilize their lips to any great extent to help them to move food into the oral cavity. Generally, they grasp the food with the teeth and they will toss into the air, and then they will open mouth and they will bring the food at the posterior region of the mouth, oral cavity. Suckling, it is affected by the creation of the negative pressure in the mouth, largely by the backward movement of the base of the tongue. So there will be backward movement of the base of the tongue will be there. Milking is forced from the teeth into the mouth due to the pressure gradient. Now coming to the drinking. The drinking behavior is also different in the different animals. If you talk about the different animals, you will see the different behavior in the drinking. If you consider the ruminant like sheep, goat, cattle, buffalo, they will create the negative pressure and then they will drink the water. Whereas in case of the dog and cats, they and their wild relatives, they cannot create the negative pressure and they cannot drink water with the negative pressure. They will protrude the tongue, they will bring out the tongue and they will make a lap, and they will lift the column of water every time. And in dog, around 10 to 15 ml of water at a time they can lift and they can drink. Mastication. Mastication, it is helps in the slicing, tearing and grinding and mixing of the ingested food by the teeth. It is a mechanical reduction in the food by grinding action of the molar teeth. The purpose of mastication are to grind and break up the food into the smaller pieces to facilitate the swallowing, to increase the food surface area on which the salivary enzyme will act. It is also involved in the mixing of the food with the saliva. It stimulates the taste bud with reflexly increasing the salivary, gastric and pancreatic and bile secretion. Carnivores normally swallow the food without chewing and mixing, whereas ruminants will chew the food only briefly so that they will be able to swallow it. Ruminant animal will, as I told you, again it will regurgitate the food, means they will bring the food back from the stomach to the mouth and then they will masticate it, they will ruminate it or they will chew it and they will mix with the saliva and then they will re-swallow it. In carnivores, that movement of the jaw, if you will see that in carnivores, vertical movement of the jaw will be there while that they are chewing the food. In herbivores, that lateral movement of the jaw will be there while chewing the food. In herbivores, the upper jaw is wider than that of the lower jaw, hence the mastication can occur only one side at a time. So this is important in the ruminants, that upper jaw and lower jaw size is different, so that mastication can take place at only one side at a time. The molar teeth is a chisel shape with sharp edged lower teeth pointed towards the inner side and that of the upper teeth towards the outside. Incisor teeth are used to cut or lacerate the food particles. In ruminants, the upper incisor are absent but modified as dental pad, and in the lower jaw they are loosely and obliquely placed in a socket. Coming to the deglutition or swallowing. The deglutition or swallowing is highly complex reflex that must deliver the food or fluid to the esophagus while keeping such material out of the respiratory tract. Swallowing is the entire process of moving the food from the mouth through the esophagus into the stomach. Swallowing in a vertebrate is initiated when the bolus or ball of the food is forced by the tongue to the rear of the mouth into the pharynx. The pressure of the bolus in the pharynx stimulates the pharyngeal pressure receptors, which sends the efferent impulse to the swallowing center located in the medulla oblongata. It starts as the voluntary act and then becomes the involuntary reflex during the execution. So this deglutition is starting with the voluntary act and then it becomes involuntary act, means that we cannot stop in between. Swallowing is an example of sequentially programmed all or non-reflex. So it is all or non-reflex in which the multiple responses are triggered in a specific timed sequence. Swallowing is divided into two stages, that is oropharyngeal stage and the esophageal stage. Oropharyngeal stage consists of moving the bolus from the mouth through the pharynx into the esophagus. When the bolus enters the pharynx during the swallowing, it must be directed into the esophagus and prevents from entering the other opening that communicate with the pharynx. Ruminant dogs, in the ruminant dog, the entire musculature of the esophagus is striated, whereas birds and humans are entirely smooth muscles. In horse and cat, bottom third of esophagus is smooth muscles. So the esophagus is guarded at the upper end by pharyngoesophageal sphincter and at the lower end it is a gastroesophageal sphincter, or it is also called as cardiac sphincter because the esophagus where enters into the esophagus, that portion of the stomach is known as cardia. Cardia, the point of opening of the esophagus into the stomach, it is provided with the sphincter muscles known as cardiac sphincter, which is capable of automatic activity under the control of the CNS. It prevents the backflow of the food from the stomach to the esophagus. Cardia is ordinarily closed except during the swallowing and regurgitation. Cardiac sphincter is well developed and very powerful in the horse, because of which horse cannot vomit. Coming to the peristaltic wave of the esophagus, after the oropharyngeal stage, esophageal stage of the swallow begins once the food bolus contact the pharyngeal mucosa. The swallowing center initiates the primary peristaltic wave that sweeps from the beginning to the end of the esophagus, forcing the bolus ahead of it through the esophagus to the stomach. The term peristalsis refers to the ring-like contraction of the circular smooth muscles that moves progressively forward. Food and liquid can be propelled to the stomach even when the animal's head is lower than the body. Regurgitation, it is associated with the extra contraction of the reticulum followed by the primary contraction. This regurgitation, I told you, that means bringing the food particles back from the stomach to the mouth for the chewing or mastication or mixing with the saliva, which is important for the digestive process. It is breaking down the food particles into the smaller size, increasing the surface area, and it mixes with the saliva. That inside in which that mastication is taking place, that side salivary secretion will be very high. Rumination is a mechanical reduction of the food by grinding action of the molar teeth, and it is a voluntary act. It is having the circadian rhythm of the rumination. Ruminants will normally ruminate during the late night or late evening, or some animals will ruminate while they are suckling. If food is having the more fiber, it will ruminate for the longer hours, and if food is grinded in a very smaller size, that rumination will be very brief. Normally, that ruminate for around 8 to 10 hours a day. Usually, during the particular bout of the rumination, chewing occurs only on one side of the jaw. In the camel, it is not uncommon for the cud to be chewed alternatively on the left and right side of the successive chewing. Cud chewing leads to the 3-fold to 5-fold increase in the salivation. This is important. When that animal will chew that cud, that time salivation means salivary secretions will increase 3 to 5-fold. Around for particular bout, particular chewing, once that ingesta will come into the mouth, it will chew around 50 to 55 chew per minute. The particle size must be more than 10 mm in order to take the rumination, and if particle size is more than 300 mm, the rumination may not take place, or it will means that food particles may not be able to come out from the stomach to the mouth. So rumination is one of the most cardinal and obvious sign of the health. Vomition is the spasmodic and forceful ejection of the stomach content through the esophagus and mouth. Vomition is a very rare in horse, I told you, and because it is having the very well developed sphincter which doesn't allow them to vomit. In carnivores and omnivores, vomiting is common. Herbivores and rodent, it is a very rare, or it may not vomit. In other non-vomiter, vomiting center may be absent or rudimentary. Carnivores and most omnivores except rodents, mammals have the ability to vomit or expel the content of their stomach through the oral cavity. In most species, vomition serves primarily as a means of removing the toxic material from the stomach. A collection of nerve cells in the reticular formation of the medulla comprises the vomiting center. These neurons receive the sensory information directly from the gastrointestinal tract via the vagal or sympathetic afferent fibers. Act of vomition is composed of 4 phases, that is esophageal dilatation, gastric emptying, gastric reflux, and esophageal collapse. So in this topic, what are the things we have covered? We have seen the types of the animals, and in this, how their stomach is there, what are the different digestive parts are there, how that animal chew the food and how they swallow it, how they drink the water, different animal, and then how it is being swallowed in the different animals. Thank you.